Welcome to Hypnosis Today, the nation's first web TV talk show that explores the fascinating world of hypnotherapy. Hello, my name is Lisa Machenberg, and I'll be your host, covering a wide variety of subjects to help you understand the power of the subconscious mind and how hypnosis is being used today to help people achieve success, happiness, and prosperity. It is my pleasure to introduce you to my very special guest. Today we have Cheryl O'Neil. She is a staff hypnotherapist, instructor, and the director of the Imagery Certification Program at HMI College of Hypnotherapy. Today, Cheryl is going to be talking to us today about her brand new pay-per-view certification course, which is called Healing the Inner Child with Hypnosis. Please help me welcome Cheryl O'Neil.
Thank you, Lisa. It's so nice to be here on your show.
Great, thanks. Well, you know, I'm very excited about this pay-per-view and the certification course because inner child is a very, very interesting modality. Can you please tell us a little bit about what inner child work is?
Sure. You know, that little part of the self that often adults can resonate to through their feelings and emotions, that's what we're dealing with. And sometimes this child aspect is resonating positively through our positive emotions, like with passion or enthusiasm, creativity, play, intimacy. We have that child aspect available.
Yeah, so we want to be childlike, but not necessarily childish.
That's right. That's right. But the main part of the inner child work has to do with that hurt child aspect, the hurt child, which probably develops early in life through some sort of dysfunction in the family. And so this work is about healing the pain of the child within, that pain that maybe the adult carried through all their life and maybe hasn't dealt with it because we learn not to at the time, depending on what kind of dysfunction took place.
Sure, because, you know, listen, I'm 52, and it was common when I was growing up that negative emotions were not okay to be even felt, not just displayed, but even felt in the home.
That's right.
Many clients don't know they need inner child work. What kind of symptoms manifest that gives you the idea that maybe this client would be a candidate for inner child work?
Sure. Well, outside the fact that sometimes you will have clients that actually speak about the sadness of their childhood, the pain that they may have felt. That's pretty direct, so we know at that time. But certain issues that crop up, maybe while they're there for a reason, like weight issues, smoking, any of the addictive issues, anger issues, grief and loss. These are some of the resistances that come up. Those are maybe some of the conditions that they bring in. Rejection, abandonment, maybe guilt, shame. Those sort of feelings that you see them wrestling with. Also, symptomatically, they might have difficulty in relationship. Speaking about that with authority figures as well, you know, their intimate relationships, maybe not being able to have intimacy, trouble having sex, acting out, being promiscuous. It depends, you know, what the dysfunction was that brought them to these issues.
You know, I always think that when I see a client who's chronically late, if there's a almost passive and aggressive tendency, which is an unresolved issue around the stage of development autonomy. Would that type of a client be good for inner child
Absolutely,
work?
and I call that resistant lifestyle. Because we, you know, we're not diagnosing or anything, but the resistant lifestyle client who has those they're late with their bills, they're late to your sessions, they're self-sabotaging, they're resisting maybe even the work a little bit. Because that's one of the things that inner child work can help is soften that resistance.
You know, sometimes in the session when clients are comfortable with us, we seek behavior cues in our work when the client's comfortable with us, when they really trust us. What kind of behavior cues do you see that give you the clue that this is an inner child or a stage of development issue?
Well, you know, the rapport, of course, is so important to work when we're working with a client, to know that we're in the right rapport to do this work. And the behavioral clues that could happen that they bring in, like, oh, I raged at my significant other last night, or I blew up at my boss, or I had uncontrollable crying and I don't understand why. The grief that stuck maybe for a while. So they talk about some of their issues that you know, it's like, here they are adult, but they're acting sort of like a large baby child.
Yes.
You know, and so it becomes inappropriate behavior for an adult. It's childish behavior.
Yes.
And some of us, you know, sometimes getting the distinction between that is very, you know, it's a discerning, to try to determine, are we having, you know, are we in connection with our positive aspect of child, or, you know, this negative side that it's usually sort of the inappropriateness. We're over the top, we're codependent, we're in that more dysfunctional acting out place where...
Sure, so we see that this client doesn't have the type of containment or self-regulation that you would expect from an adult.
Yes.
So now that we know what it is and we know how, what type of symptoms it can help and what some of the behavior clues are, take us through the modality of working with the inner child. What kind of inductions do you use?
Well, you know, I use a standard progressive, but maybe what we're going to do to find out a little bit about doing this type of work first, down the stairway, have them look through a glass door, that they don't connect with the child, but they see the child within. That's a gentle way to start, to just sort of have them observe the child and what feelings come up, what do they notice, how old is the child, that kind of thing. And we're kind of guiding them through that. Another way would be to do a gentle child meeting. I particularly like this because it's so client-centered. You ask the client before we go in what would they might like to meet up with the child, because you've explained a little bit about this work, and see if they resonate to it. And would they like to go to a special place or a secret hideaway that they knew of the child, or some other place? And sometimes maybe it's just spontaneous. And we walk them in to create the place through the progressive until they're there, and then allow the child image to appear and just notice about it and get a description. This is an interactive approach. It can be done in immersion or it can be done interactively. But when you pull from the client, you get their right on the spot experience with it. And so they describe the child.
While they're in hypnosis?
Yes. So it puts it as a little lighter hypnosis because they're talking, but the further down through the process we go, the more involved they become. It enriches the involvement. And they describe the main quality that they feel from the child and how they feel by being with a child. And then we start seeing if we can embrace a conversation with a child by asking them, what does a child seem to want from you? What does the child need from you? And what are the child's concerns? And we get this kind of input, and then what you might do now, we say to the client, now that you know what the child needs and wants, are you willing to give them that? You know, and so we start establishing a bond that's we're not directing them with it, it's coming from them, which is a very gentle way to start.
When we are about to do our count out, do you put any post-hypnotic suggestions to bring the insight or even the ability to self-regulate up out of the hypnosis and into the present world?
Yes, it depends. If it's an interactive, I might, towards the end, I'm going to have them bring themselves back into the whole integration of themselves, because this is basically about building that bond with the part of yourself that maybe you haven't had connection with all this time, and it's building self-love. is building self-trust. It's building, sort of helping to heal maybe the misconnections and the dysfunctional part that happen with those early developmental stages that we talked about. But you want to give them that feeling that they're coming back to their whole integrated being.
Yes.
Then right after, when they're up and out, ask them, now you might not know right now, but I'd like you to think about how you might ground this into your reality of today. Next steps.
Sure.
What might the next steps be?
Cheryl, I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, kind of.
But it was a wonderful introduction.
Oh, good.
And I know that everybody is going to want to take the new pay-per-view certification course, Healing the Inner Child with Hypnosis.
And imagery.
And imagery. And I know that everybody can reach you by looking up Cheryl O'Neil on hmigrads.com. Well, we need to hold that thought for a moment because we are going to take a short break. But please stay tuned because when we come back, we're going to meet another HMI instructor and learn about how we can use children's books with our adult clients. Stay tuned. Thank you.